Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. Thank you for clicking on this video. If this is your first time on my channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button to subscribe and make sure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you. I really appreciate and God bless you. Thank you. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful short gown. In my previous video, I already showed us how to draft and cut this gown. So if you haven't seen that video, that's the very next video before this video you're watching. And I'll also drop the link in the description box so that you can check it out. So without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the video. So these are the front pieces for the bustier, and it's an armhole princess bustier. So I'm going to separate the lining from the main fabric. I'm going to sew the side to the center. I'll place it right side facing right side, and I'll sew on half inch all the way to the armhole. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. I'm going to stitch on half of an inch all the way to the armhole. I'll repeat the same thing on the linings. And here, these are our back pieces. I have a rope I'll have attached to the back, that's at the neck area, if you notice from the picture at the beginning of this video. So here are the two back pieces, and this is the rope I'll be sewing to the neckline to create that rope effect at the back. So I'm going to sew the rope on this side and then sew it on a straight line all the way to the other side. I'm going to leave the other side open. That's the place I'll be turning it out from. I'll repeat the same thing on the other, that's on the second rope, and then I'll come and show us how to attach it to the neckline. So right now I'm done stitching the bustier. So I'm going ahead to notch the seam allowance. This is the lining. I'm going to notch the lining and as well as the main fabric. You can see I've notched it. So right now I'm going ahead to press the seam lines open. This will actually help in the molding of the bustier. You want this to come out really well. After pressing it, I went ahead to curve the armhole. That's to shape the front armhole correctly. And this is what it looks like. So you can see that this bustier is not padded, but you can see how it is sitting well. So if you draft correctly and cut correctly, of course, everything will sit really well. It's not padded. I only used my hasty, but you can see that it's sitting really well on the table. Okay, so now I've placed my lining over the fabric. I place the right side of the lining facing the right side of the fabric, and then I'm going to stitch round the neckline like this, and then I'm going to stitch the two sides on half of an inch. Then I can now turn it out from the armhole or from the waistline. So now for the back piece, here are the two back pieces. I'll place them facing each other like this, and then I'll bring in the rope I will have at the back. So this is the rope I'll have at the back. I've already turned it out. So you want to make sure that you use something sharp to push out the edges. That's the other edge. That's the sewn part of the rope. And that's what I'm trying to do. So this is just it's, let me say, a metal, an iron long sharp stuff that I can just use to push out sharp points. So you can use your scissors, but you can see that it's quite long. So you need something that is long. Our scissors cannot get to this point. So just get something slim and sharp, but be careful so that you don't poke the rope. Okay, so right now, I haven't done that. I'm going to place the rope now. The part that is open, that's the part I didn't stitch close, is the part now that I placed on top of the fabric. So from the neckline, I came down by 1.5 inches. This is so that by the time I'm done stitching the rope and I join the shoulder, I'll be left with 1 inch. Okay, so I came down by 1.5 inches and placed the rope, and I'm doing the same thing on the other side. Just watch carefully, you will understand exactly what I am doing. So I'm going ahead to pin it. So next I'm going to place my lining over the fabric So my lining is going to be facing the right side of the fabric. I'm going to top stitch the rope first, and then I'll sew my lining following the shape of the neckline. So can you see that the main fabric is the rope is in between the fabric and the lining, okay? And then I'm going to stitch same thing here, just like this. I'm going to sew the neckline following the four corner shape I have there, and then I'll sew the side. I'll turn it out from the armhole or from the waist line. So I'll do that and come back and show us. So as you can see, I've done that already. I'm going ahead to notch the sharp point. Remember that this neckline is a square neckline. So this point that is sharp, you want to notch it, okay? So that you can easily turn it out. And then I'll notch all the other areas. And then you can see at the center back, I went ahead to just cut out a little bit of the excess I have on the seam allowance. So this is me turning my material out, and this is what we have. Can you see? So right now you can see that the rope has come out from this side. Can you see? So this is it. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other side, and then I'm going to give it a very nice press, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. As you can see, I'm done pressing the back. So this is me tying the rope just to show us what it will look like at the back. So now for the front neckline, I'm going ahead to notch the seam allowance. You want to make sure that you notch all your curved points every time you sew. It makes it a lot easier so that you can give it a good press and turn it out to the right side. So this is what I have right now. I've also ironed the neckline. So I'm going to insert my hemming gum on the neckline that's in between the lining and fabric. So this will actually help to keep the neckline really intact. So I'm going to just place my hemming gum between, that's after the seam allowance, and then I'll use my steam iron and press it really well. So this is so that the lining will stick to the neck, that's to the lining will stick inside and not be coming out from the neckline. It just makes it a lot easier and neater. Okay, I'm going to just press it well and then show us the next thing to do. So I'm done ironing the front neckline. So this is the down part, which is the A shape. I placed the lining on the right side of the fabric and I stitched the sides, right? But I didn't stitch the down part and then the waistline. So I'm going ahead to turn it out now. So now this is me turning it to the right side. So I haven't turned it to the right side. So you can see that my seam allowance now is hidden in between the lining and the fabric. So I'll bring in my iron and press the sides. I'm going to do this. After doing that, I'm going to sew it to the waistline. So this waistline that I have open will make it easy for me to sew the waistline of the upper bodies and the waistline of the down part together, and then we will not see my seam allowance. So this is me going to sew them in between each other. Can you see what it looks like here? So I'm placing it, this is how I'm going to sew it. So I'll place the fabric to face the fabric, right side of the ankara to face the ankara. But before doing that, I'll make sure to notch the center. You need to get the midpoint so that you don't sew it to tilt to one side. So first I'm going to fold my fabric into two like this, and then notch the middle, and I'll also notch the middle of the upper bodice. Okay, so after notching the center of both the up and down, so I'm going to now wear the skirt part over the upper bodice. So I'm making sure that Ankara is facing Ankara. Right side of the Ankara is facing the right side of the upper bodice. And then the lining is facing the lining. So can you see? So I'm basically wearing it over it so that I can sew the waistline together. And then we'll have our waistline concealed. So this is me making sure to pin the center. That's the part where I have my notch. This is very important because you don't want to have any difference. You don't want to have any misalignment. You want to make sure that they are even on both sides. So I'm pinning it. Can you see I'm taking my time to bring it out? That's to make sure that they are aligning. And then I'm pinning the both waistlines together. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to sew all four of them together. Can you see? We have four. That's Ankara, two Ankara, and then lining two. So all four of them, I'll sew the waistline together. Can you see? So the skirt is being worn over the upper body. So this is what we'll have when it comes out like this. Can you see that? So now for the back piece, I'm going to stitch the darts first. I've sewn the lining already. That's for the down part. I've sewn the lining the sides. I didn't sew the waistline just like I did for the front. So for the back, I'm going to stitch the darts. I do not have that at the down part. I only have that at the upper part. I'm going to stitch the dart and repeat the same thing I did for the front. And see, I've turned out the waistline of the front, and this is what I have. And then I've also gone ahead to repeat the same thing for the back, and I've also joined the shoulders together. So you can see this is what we have at the back. Can you see how neat the waistline is? I have my darts neatly sewn, and then I've joined the two shoulders, the front and back shoulders together. And then you can also see that I have stitched my zip allowance of 1 inch. I held it down, leaving the space where I'm going to have my zipper. So I stitched 1 inch down, and this space for the zipper I stopped at the hip line. That's from the neckline to where the hip line is, you can see. Then I left it open. So from the waistline to this point, this is where the hip line is. So you want to make sure that your zipper at least gets to the hip line, because this gown is a fitted gown, so that you don't struggle when you are wearing it. And then I went ahead to stitch the down part, and then I have my zip allowance open. I hope we understand. So now I'll go ahead and fix my zipper to the center back. Fix my zipper to the center back, and then here, this is my sleeve. I've also hemmed the down part of the sleeve. I'm going to be inserting elastic into the hemming allowance. That's the hemming allowance is for the elastic casing. So to cut the elastic, the round arm measurement, that's round elbow measurement I'm using, it's a round elbow of 11 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut exactly that 11 inches, so that by the time I stitch on 1 inch on both sides, I'll be left with 9 inches. You don't want this elastic to be too tight, so I'll cut two pieces, and then each of the elastic will be for each of the sleeves. I'm going to insert it into the elastic casing. So you don't want this to be really tight, because basically what this means is that 11 inches. So by the time I sew with 1 inch on both sides, I'll be left with 9 inches. So which will make this elastic not to be too tight around the elbow area. So you can see how I'm passing it through. I just used my safety pin and I'm passing it through it. So once the elastic I can just see small, I'll just go ahead and top stitch it there so that it doesn't fall in. So first I'm going to use my safety pin to secure it so that it doesn't go in completely. And then I'll bring it out from this side. So can you see? So brought it out from this side. I'll also use my safety pins to secure it also at the other side. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the second sleeve, and then I'll go ahead and sew this sleeve to the armhole, and then also fix my zipper and come and show us how to fix the gathers at the down part. Okay, so I'm done stitching the zipper, and I went ahead to press the zipper from the back side. This helps it to open smoothly, and I made sure that the zipper aligns on the waistline. I've also gone ahead to fix the basic sleeve to the armhole, and I wove the armhole. You can see I've done that for the two armholes. So next I went ahead to draw my seam allowance here on the side. So it's now time for me to shape this, but we're going to have a pockets at the sides of this gown. So I came down from the shoulder line by 18 inches. I marked the point where we're going to have the pocket, and which is from 18 inches, which is the waistline of the owner of this outfit. So if your waistline is 16, 17, please feel free to use it. So 18 is not a standard, okay? So, and then from that 18 inches I came down by 6.5 inches. That's going to be the pocket opening. So right now I'll take this to my machine and stitch on the sides, leaving that 6.5 inches, which is for the space for the pockets. I'm not going to close up that side. I'll only stitch there and skip that 6.5 inches and come down and stitch below the 6.5 inches. I'll leave that 6.5 inches open because that's where I'm going to stitch the pockets to the sides. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So I'm done sewing the pockets to the sides, and this is what I have. I didn't show us how to sew this pocket because it's quite a process. So if you don't know how to sew a pocket to the side of your gown, I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box so that you can watch and learn how to sew a pocket. I don't want this video to be longer than normal. You can see that it's already long. So I'm going to drop the link to the video, a detailed video on how to fix a side pocket to your gown. Okay, so now here is my fabric I'll be using for the gathers at the down part. I've gone ahead to hem the down part of the fabric, and then I went ahead to use the longest stitch on my machine to run a stitch at the upper part. That's at the not the down part where I have my hemmed allowance, okay? So I ran a stitch at the upper part, and then I gathered it to the circumference I have here at the hem of the gown, and I have about 56 inches in total at the hem of the gown. Okay, so I'm going to now pin these gathers to the hem of the gown. First, I'm going to get the center. I'll notch the center of the gathers, and then I'll pin it also. I'll make sure that the center aligns with the center front, and then the part where I have the two openings will align with the center back where I have the zip allowance. So this is it. So this is what I mean. I measured the hem of the gown, and this is what I have here. So you can see that I have about 30 inches. So 30 plus 30, it's on fold, that's about 60. That's plus my hemming allowance. That's plus the center back. That's the zip allowance. I beg your pardon. So I'll make sure that what I have here, the gathers I have here, I also make sure that I have the same 30 inches like I have at the hem of the gown. Okay, so that's it. So I'm just going to make sure that my gathers are even, and then I'll go ahead and pin it to the hem of the gown and take it to my sewing machine and stitch them together and weave it and then close up the center back. Okay, so here we are. I'm done stitching the gathers to the hem of the gown. Can you see? It came out really beautiful. The front is higher than the back and giving it that nice high-low effect. And this is what we have at the back. I made sure to that the part that's where the gathers at this point at the center back, I made sure that it is well aligned. You don't want the joining of the gathers to be on the left and the center back is on the right. You want to make sure that you do this very carefully. And I've also woven the seam allowance on the inside, and see it's really neat. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to just take off my gather thread and give this outfit a very nice press and wear it on the mannequin so that we can see the final outcome. So here we are. This is what our gown looks like on the mannequin. And you see the high-low effect. It came out really beautiful. It came out really, really beautiful. I enjoyed making this gown. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed making this gown. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did enjoy watching this video, please like this video, share this video, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And also make sure you put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye and stay safe.